Hey folks, welcome back to Mears Lab. In today's video, I'd like to take a look at a whole bunch of really cool guitar gadgets. Some of these items can make playing the guitar quite a bit easier. On top of that, they can open up some doors to creativity, open up your mind to different sort of ways of playing and approaching the guitar. And on top of that, they make great gift ideas as well too. Throughout the video, we are going to be navigating through the Long & McQuaid Musical Instruments website, but I want you to know that I'm not sponsored by Long & McQuaid Musical Instruments in any way, although I did used to work there a few years ago. I'm just using the website because I really like the music store and I really like their website as well too. I think it's a really good resource to demonstrate the range of products that are available. The first item is a guitar tuner. It's really important to make sure that your guitar is in tune so that whenever you hit the notes on it, that they sound the way that they're supposed to sound, really. And it's something that no matter how experienced you are or whether you can tune by ear or not, you're always going to benefit by having a tuner. And even if you already have a tuner, sometimes it's good to have a couple of different tuners as well too, because there's different styles that you can use in different sorts of applications. Let's have a look at a few of them now. Okay, so let's just go up here and type in tuners. And here we go. We can see under guitars, we can click on tuners, and here they are, a whole bunch of them available. Most of these are clip-on tuners, and that's the most popular style of tuner these days. Let's just click on this very first one here from Snark, this ST8, and it costs $24.99 Canadian. And this is a great little tuner. This will make an awesome gift for any guitarist, whether they're just getting started or whether they've been playing for quite a long time as well too. And it just clips on the top of the guitar, and it works really well for acoustic guitars or electric guitars or even like bass guitars and some other instruments as well too. It's really easy to use and it's a really affordable price, and this is a really well-known and respected brand name as well too. I own one really similar to this from the same brand, and you just can't go wrong with a little tuner like this. It's awesome. Another popular option for a tuner is something like a pedal tuner, but this would be mostly for an electric guitarist or maybe somebody who plays bass guitar. But something like this Boss TU3 here, it's a bit more expensive, but this is something that's made by a really well-known and respected brand name. It's super tough and it works really, really well, and it's really convenient. You just plug your guitar into it, and when you step on the pedal, it mutes your guitar signal so you can't hear any sound coming out of your amp. And so then when you're tuning, it's not going to like bug everybody else listening to you tuning your guitar. And then it displays the note on the front of the tuner there so you can see what note you're trying to tune to. And they're really, really awesome to use. I don't own this exact same model, but I have one similar to it from a different brand. And these are just awesome and really, really popular as well too. You can't go wrong with a Boss TU3. Picks, 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 picks. Picks are one of the best things that you can add to your range of guitar gadgets that you own. And don't just stick to the ones that you normally like to use. It's a really great idea to get a whole bunch of different types of them that are all different shapes and sizes and materials and thicknesses, because you never know what is going to happen whenever you try a different pick. Like, where's the ones that I use? Right here. Okay, so I've been using these same, here's a really worn down old one right here. These same green Tortex ones for, wow, probably like, I don't know, 20 years or something like that now. So this is sort of my main go-to, and I really like it, and I'm confident with it. And a lot of guitar players are like that with their picks. But it took me a long time to find the one that just sort of felt sort of right. And, you know, it took a while to narrow it down. And the way I did that is I tried a whole bunch of ones. I remember I used to use like the little red ones, and I also used to use the yellow ones and the orange ones, and I even went to the purple at one point, but green is sort of like the thickness that I like. And by the way, the color code of, in particular, this brand, which is Dunlop picks, the colors are tied to like how thick the pick is, and how thick the pick is really important, because generally, like when you start playing, before you've developed a lot of like strong sort of muscle memory, you want to use a thinner pick because it's a little easier to hold on to. And then as your ability sort of grows, then you are going to go to a thicker pick because it gives you more control and accuracy, but it's a little bit harder to hold on to whenever you're starting. But I would encourage you to try to work towards using a thicker pick. But there's a bunch of different kinds you can get. So anyways, let's look at them right now. So here, let's just type in picks. So These style right here, these Tortex by Dunlop, these are considered sort of one of the main styles of picks that you can get. And a lot of people will just pick up like a pack of 10 or 12 or something like that, and they cost around $5 or $6 or $7. And that's great, but you can also just buy them individually as well too. Or you can buy these multi-packs, and I think that these are a really great idea because these have a whole bunch of different picks and thicknesses and different styles and materials, and they all feel quite a bit different, you know, and it can make quite a big difference or quite a significant impact on your playing, you know, depending on the type of pick you're using. And this is only like $7.49, and most music stores carry something like this in stock all the time. And they are really just a great thing to kind of pick up anytime you're in the music store, or if you're looking to get a nice little gift for somebody to put in their stocking or something, you know? Yeah. A capo is a really cool thing to add to your arsenal of gear. These are really useful for acoustic guitar players or electric guitar players. What they do is they allow you to sort of change the key of the guitar, and instantly you can sort of like play in a higher key, and sometimes that makes it a little bit easier to sing songs, but mostly the reason that you would use it for is so that you can play in the same key that a song that you're trying to play along with is written in. Like, for example, some songs, like a lot of Beatles songs, are like written with like a capo on the first fret, and this is what it looks like here. So let's just type in capo. It's sort of like just like a clamp that clamps around the neck of the guitar. Here we go. Here's a really popular one right here from Dunlop. This is probably like the most popular one that they've ever made, really. You can get it in a few different finishes. It's super simple and easy to use. You just take it and you sort of like clamp it around the neck of the guitar, and you make sure that this rubber pad right here is resting sort of just behind the fret that you want to be sort of like the bass fret of your guitar now. And then it allows you to change the key of your guitar. And there's a really cool added benefit to capos that I think is really neat. And I find that a lot of beginning guitar players really like them, to use them. And the reason why is because when you use a capo, it keeps the strings really close to the frets on the guitar, a lot closer than the nut on the guitar does. And that has the benefit of making the strings a lot easier to push down. So whenever you're just learning to play the guitar and you haven't really built up the sort of like the tough calluses on the tips of your fingers, it hurts when you're playing the guitar for a while. And even after you have the calluses, after you've played guitar, you know, if you've played for like maybe half an hour or so, sometimes your fingers do start to hurt a little bit. And a capo can help with that because sometimes it can just give you a little break. You just play a song like with a capo in a higher key, and then the strings are a little bit easier to push down, and it just gives you a little bit of a break. And I think that that's really, really nice. There's a huge amount of capos available, and they can be pretty overwhelming to know which ones to start with. So I'm just going to recommend that you start with something like this Dunlop model right here, or this Kaiser model that's right beside it. Both of these are super popular and would be considered sort of like the gold standards in capos, if you will. I prefer the Kaiser style myself because when you put this on the guitar, the handle is sort of like up and out of the way. And what I mean by that is when you're playing guitar, and say if you're using this this Dunlop one right here, you would if you were playing like an E chord, sometimes your hand can sort of bump into the handles, and then if you accidentally bump into it, that can sometimes throw your tuning out a little bit too. So I personally prefer the Kaiser model a little bit more, but that's only a tiny little, I mean, it's just a minor difference. It's not that big of a deal, and it's only a couple bucks more. If you really want to like spend a bit more and get something really nice, then I recommend you go for something like this Shub C1, and that is one of the best capos you can get. It's $38.50, and the benefit of this one is there's no handle that sticks right out, so you can't accidentally bump into it. It's all metal, but by the way, these ones are all metal as well too. But the real nice thing is this one has this. Let's click on it here. This one has this really cool thumb screw on it, and the reason that's nice, and this nice little wheel here too, is the thumb screw allows you to get like the exact amount of pressure on the strings of the guitar. Now this is just for advanced guitar players. This is something that's way beyond what a beginner would typically look into. But you know, it matters sort of like exactly how much pressure the capo puts on the strings to keep your tuning more accurate. And if that's something that you're thinking about, then this is the kind of capo that's going to get you to that sort of place. They also make capos for 12-string acoustic guitars and like mandolins and everything else you can possibly think of. But you know, if you went with one of these two models, those will sometimes even work on some 12-string guitars and other instruments as well too. So if you went with one of those two, you'd probably be just fine as far as capos go. Extra strings are always a good thing to have lying around, and in particular, I think having a bunch of extra high E strings are a really good idea to have hanging around. They're the ones that tend to like break the most. So, you know, if you're an electric guitarist, then have a whole bunch of gauge 9s and 10s and maybe even a couple of 11s, but probably just 9s or 10s. Have a bunch of those hanging around, and if you're an acoustic guitarist, then have a bunch of gauge 12 high E strings hanging around. And because that way, whenever it breaks, you'll just have it right there and you can just put it right back on the guitar right away. Lesson books are a really useful thing to have around. I find that sometimes whenever I'm playing guitar, I get bored of just playing songs or writing riffs or whatever it is that I'm working on. And then sometimes if I see a lesson book and it's just sitting there right out on a table or something right where I like to play guitar, then oftentimes I'll be encouraged to like pick it up and leaf through it and then sometimes learn like a different technique or something brand new. And that's really great because new techniques can open up doors to different creative possibilities whenever you're playing the guitar, and that can make things really exciting and motivating when you're playing the guitar. And it's a really easy thing to do is just pick up a lesson book, not a song book, but a lesson book, and then make sure that that is just hanging out around somewhere where you like to play guitar, where it's within arm's reach and really easy to get to. And make sure that the lesson book is in a sort of technique that is something that you want to learn to play. Like if you want to get more experience playing slide guitar or learning how to play lead or rhythm or whatever it is, classical or whatever it is, if you have the lesson book just sitting right there where you like to play guitar, trust me, you definitely will be encouraged to pick it up and look through it, and then the lesson book will work and you'll start to develop that technique a bit more. Songbooks are also excellent resources to have hanging around in your music room. The reason why is because well, sometimes whenever you're practicing your techniques or writing riffs, sometimes you just want to just learn how to play some songs. And here's the reason why songbooks are great compared to something that's like a free resource out there, like guitar tabs that you can find easily on the internet. I find that the majority, if not like 99.999% of guitar tabs that are on the internet are all wrong. They're like almost there, but they're not quite. And you see, the trouble with that is when you're an experienced guitar player, you can sort of cite where the errors are and you can sort of figure it out, you know. But if you're just learning, that's really confusing because, you know, you got to trust these tabs. And you're like, well, I'm playing it like the tab says, but it doesn't sound like the song. And I'm telling you, yeah, that does happen all the time. And that used to like really freak me out all the time when I was playing the guitar. And so that's where songbooks come into play, because songbooks are generally like the ones you get from the music store. They're like officially licensed and they're 100% accurate. You know, somebody's been paid to sit down there and really, really learn the song and make sure that it's written out in a way that's really easy to read and learn as well too. And so I think that songbooks, you know, like just pick up one from one of your favorite bands or something and just have it there, because it's really nifty to like learn riffs and sometimes like some of the funnest riffs to play are the ones that like you would not expect as well too. Sometimes it's not the main riff in a song. Sometimes it's like a secondary riff or like a verse riff or something like that, and it's really fun to learn. And then when you do learn it and you discover those cool little nuggets, you can like show those to your friends as well, and then it's just really fun. And to me, that's one of the coolest parts about playing the guitar, is like discovering cool little things and then showing it to somebody else. Guitar polish is really useful whether you have been playing guitar for 1 year or 10 years or 100 years. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of guitar polish available as well too, and it's the sort of thing that even if you already have some, it's always great to have a little bit more, or maybe a little bit of a different kind as well too. There's something about like a freshly polished instrument just hanging on the wall or sitting there on its stand, especially like when the sun is like shining on it or something like that. It just looks so beautiful, and it really is. It's really enjoyable to polish your guitar as well too. And it's a really nice thing to do sort of like at the start and the end of a playing session. And it just helps you to sort of get more and more into the world of playing the guitar whenever you cherish your instruments and you take care of them and you polish them regularly. It's just going to make it look better and feel better, and you're just going to like appreciate your instrument more. And I think that that's going to help you to play guitar more and spend more time playing it as well too. Because, you know, you don't have to just play the guitar to enjoy it. Sometimes you can also just like hang it on the wall and just see it there and just like and polish it and just appreciate how nice it is and that it's part of your life. That's okay too. This is the kind of guitar polish that I own and use all the time right here. It's made by Gibson, and you just can't go wrong with something like this. It's super easy to use, it smells nice, and it's safe to use on pretty much any type of guitar or instrument, or pretty much any part of the instrument as well too. You can use this on the neck or the body of the instrument. You can use this on the headstock, and even you can use this on the pick guard and the plastic parts and even the metal parts as well too. Next, you want to pick yourself up a really, really nice polished cloth. The reason why is because come on, you don't want to use one of those old t-shirts or rags that you've got hanging around on your nice instrument. Your instrument deserves to have a really nice polished cloth, and they're only a couple of bucks. They're like $5 or $6, and you get yourself a really nice microfiber polish cloth. And here's why. Number one, it just works way better than an old t-shirt does. It gets rid of all the grease and the grime like really, really easily, and it really sort of buffs and polishes the finish to a really nice sort of glossy, shiny sheen. And microfiber cloths, trust me, they are just the jam when it comes to polishing instruments. And I can't remember the kind I have. It's just an old one. But, you know, something like this, say, like this Carlton microfiber polish cloth. I think this is actually meant for brass instruments. So you want to make sure to use this. You want to make sure that it doesn't have any chemicals or anything on it. But like, say like this. No, that's not quite the one right there. I know Long & McQuade has some like house brand microfiber cloths, and they are just the best. Let's see if I can find one here. No, I'm not a big fan of the pre-treated ones. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, like if you could find something like this, premium suede microfiber cloth, 12 inches by 15 inches by Taylor Guitars, oh, that thing is so nice. Yeah, it's $10, but this is a way you can really treat yourself as a guitarist. And you trust me, it is like, it's funny how nice some of these little things can be, but I'm telling you, some of these little tools that you pull out of your case and you use every once in a while, like, it's just really enjoyable when you use a really nice polished cloth, and then the way your instrument looks after you use your really nice polished cloth. Oh, so nice. Lemon oil is a really useful product to have whenever you play guitar. And here's what you use it for, is you take it and then you sort of rub it all over the neck of the guitar. And what you do that for is it conditions the wood on the fretboard, and it's sort of, because the lemon oil, it's oily, it sort of like goes in there, but it doesn't leave an oily finish on the guitar. But what it does is it sort of like fills all the pores of the wood, and as they dry out, and it sort of helps to add, I guess, sort of humidity and moisture back into the fretboard of the guitar. And it makes your fretboard feel really, really nice whenever it's lemon oiled. And another thing it does is it cleans off all that gunk that builds up on your fretboard. And this is the best way to get rid of it. It's really easy. The lemon oil has a little bit of acidity in it, and the acidity that's in the lemon oil, it helps to break through all the gunk and the oils and the grease and stuff that builds up on your fretboard. And so when you use this, you just sort of like apply it and you leave it on for maybe 30 seconds or a minute or so, and it helps to break up all that stuff. And then a lot of the time you can just wipe it away with a rag or something afterwards. And it makes a really, really big difference on your neck and the way it feels. And when you regularly do this to your fretboard or your guitar, wow, it really does make the instrument look better and feel way nicer to play as well too. If you have an acoustic instrument like an acoustic guitar or a violin, then I think that a humidifier is also a really great gadget to have hanging around inside your music room. Here's a really nice one right here from Oasis, the OH1. It's $27.75. And what you do is you just fill this thing up with water, and then you make sure that it's not like dripping with water. You just want to have it like basically filled with water without any water coming out of it. And then you hang it inside the strings of your guitar when it's inside of its hard shell guitar case. and it helps to keep the humidity it helps to keep the humidity at a really nice level, so that your instrument doesn't dry out, essentially. And because whenever your instrument dries out, the strings can like get too far away, and in extreme cases it could cause cracking, but don't be too worried about that. That's really extreme cases. But anyways, this Oasis one is a really popular model. It's a really great brand name, and it's super easy to use. So that's the one I'd recommend. There's also some other really nice ones out there. I think that D'Addario makes them, and they're called Humidipacks, and they are totally automatic and easier to use. But I will recommend these Oasis ones above the easier to use D'Addario's Humidipacks, because I think that these ones just do a better job. Gig bags are a super useful way to carry around your instrument, and they have a lot of benefits that go along with them as well too. One of them is that they're really affordable, for one, and they're also really light. And that makes a big difference sometimes when you're carrying your guitar around, and say you just need to walk down the street, or you're just making a quick trip and you got to carry a whole bunch of stuff. Gig bags are useful because they often have shoulder straps, so you can just put it right on your shoulders, and then you can carry like your amp in one hand and maybe like your pedal board in the other hand or something like that, and you can just do one trip to get up the stairs to your gig. Or they also have a lot of bags and like zippered pockets and things like that in them as well too, to carry all your extra accessories and gadgets and things like that. And so that's why I think that gig bags are actually really, really useful. And I personally actually prefer gig bags over hard shell cases, just because of how much stuff I can stick inside of it, and I really like to use gadgets. Hard shell guitar cases are an excellent purchase. These are the best ways to protect your instrument, and these are definitely going to be a necessity if you want to use a humidifier with your instrument, because you need to have a type of case that's going to sort of seal the air inside of it, and a gig bag just doesn't do that, or at least most gig bags don't do that. But hard shell guitar cases are really good at that, and they usually have like a hard wooden exterior around them, and that really helps to keep your instrument protected. Now, they're not good enough to go on a plane. I do not recommend using a case like this style right here, like a regular guitar case on a plane, but these are fine to just toss in the back of your van or car or whatever, you know. They're a little on the heavy side, and they're a little bit more expensive than gig bags, but they do provide the best protection for your instrument. So here's how I answer the question of like whether you should get a gig bag or a case. If the answer isn't both, then and it can only be one or the other, then I would typically just ask the person like, well, where do you play? And like, do you travel with your instrument? And if they travel just every once in a while to go over to their friend's house, then I say, well, just get a gig bag, because that's what that's perfect for. But if they travel with their instrument often, or if they're in a band, then definitely a hard shell case is the way to go, because you need something that's going to keep your instrument protected so you don't have to worry about it. That's the key. Whenever you're loading in and you're tired at the end of the night, you don't want to be worried about babying your gig bag instrument into the van. You just kind of want to fire it in there and go home. So anyways, yeah, that's how I would choose between a gig bag or a hard shell case. Slides are super fun and a great gadget to add. There's like a ton of different sort of materials and shapes and sizes, and it's really fun to pick up a variety of them. But if you're just going to go for one, then probably something like this, I don't know, like this Ernie Ball glass slide is a pretty standard way to go. Glass is sort of like the standard sound, I would say, for most slide, but like that's highly contested, and it's really, I don't know, like there's also brass and like steel and like so many other types of materials, ceramic. They all have a slightly different sound, and it's really fun to play around with those different tones and sounds and just sort of figure out what works best and what sounds most like your favorite songs and that sort of stuff, you know? This is the kind I like to use. I just like to use a basic glass slide, and I like to use a thicker one as well too, because I feel like I get a bit more sustain and a bit more resonance out of the thicker glass slides. These are usually less than $10, and there's just so many to choose from. Wow, there's like, oh man, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but all the details. But you know, something like a basic glass slide is probably a great way to get started, and then just have some fun tinkering around with the other ones and see what they sound like. A strap for your guitar is a really cool thing to add, but maybe not necessarily right at the start. And here's why I say that. I found that whenever I started to play with a guitar strap, it was actually really hard. It was really hard to like wrap my arm around the neck of the guitar because the angle the guitar was at was different from whenever I was sitting down, and I found that quite challenging. However, it was really useful to learn how to play with a strap because that allowed me to get together with friends and start to play in bands. And, I didn't have to sit in a chair while they were all standing up playing their instruments. And that was really nice. And plus, it's also just fun to play the guitar while you're standing up. It's really fun to play guitar and kind of look at yourself in the mirror sometimes and pretend that you're playing a concert and all that sort of fun stuff as well, too. And straps are a really cool way to express your personality as well too, because there's just so many different styles. There's like leather and suede and nylon and all these different sort of like textures and colors, and it's just so cool, Like you can spend a lot of money on a guitar strap, and wow, some of them are so nice. They have this really thick like memory foam padding and everything, and and straps are really great for guitar players, whether they're like beginning or in the middle or advanced as well too, because your needs in a guitar strap will change over the years as you play the guitar. Like I find that some guitar players, as they age, like the weight of the guitar becomes significant for them, and you can get guitar straps that can help with that, that make it a lot easier on your shoulder to play like those heavy Les Paul guitars, and it's also, they look really nice as well too. So anyways, I'm not going to get into all the details about exactly which ones, but just know that there's always a ton of them available at most music stores, and they make for great gift purchases, especially when you know that they're available not just because they look cool, but because they're useful for different applications and needs. Like wider straps are great if you have shoulder issues. And like narrow straps are great if you have like a costume or something that you wear on stage and you want people to see the costume and not be distracted by the strap, and all kinds of things like that. But yeah, straps are a really cool thing. And the very last item on the list today is this Planet Waves Pro Winder guitar tool. This thing is so useful for so many reasons, and it's shocking to me how many people don't own something like this. They're available from different sorts of brands and stuff, but I really like this one in particular. And here's what it does. Like, it does a ton of different things. It's kind of like having a Swiss Army knife or like a Leatherman tool or something for your guitar. Mostly you would use this whenever you're changing the strings on your guitar, because it has a built-in string winder right here. It has a snipper on the end of it to cut the guitar strings, and it has a peg puller right there. And those three things are basically the main tools that you need to use whenever you're changing the strings on your guitar. And it's really handy having all three of those tools in one tool to use. And it works like super, super well. Oh boy, I own one of these and I love using it. Every time I pull it out, it's like one of those tools that you're like, ah, man, I'm so glad I own this. I love using it. And that's why I like to recommend the Planet Waves Pro Winder guitar tool, because it's just one of those super useful, fun things to have that makes playing guitar a lot more fun. Well, folks, that wraps up today's video about cool gadgets for the guitar. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the Mears Lab channel. And if you have any thoughts or questions, then you can leave those below in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.